Have you ever laid down on the grass, watched a streak of light flash across the sky, and wondered, where did it come from? Did a real star just fall, or was it a whisper from the universe? Tonight, we're tracing that light back to its cosmic origin, because every shooting star isn't just a momentary flash, it's a fragment of something ancient, something timeless. Chapter 1. A shooting star is not a star. When people see a shooting star in the night sky, the first thought is often one of magic. It looks like a star falling from the heavens, glowing bright, cutting across the dark like a silent whisper. But here's the simple truth. A shooting star isn't a star at all. It's not massive. It's not hot like the sun. It's not even something alive in the sky for more than a moment. What you're seeing is a tiny piece of space dust burning up as it slams into Earth's atmosphere. And when I say tiny, I mean really tiny. Most shooting stars come from particles no bigger than a grain of sand. Some are even smaller. Yet they light up the sky like fireworks, glowing white, blue, or orange, depending on their speed and makeup. It all starts far away, out in space. These particles are called meteoroids when they're still floating through space. They're just leftover debris fragments of comets, old asteroids, or even dust kicked up from collisions billions of years ago. They wander through the solar system, pulled gently by gravity, waiting for something to catch them. Then, one day, Earth crosses paths with one of these wandering bits of dust, and when it enters our atmosphere, it meets air resistance. At that moment, everything changes. The meteoroid starts to fall fast, very fast. Some of them enter the atmosphere at speeds up to 70 kilometers per second. That's over 250,000 kilometers per hour. The friction caused by hitting the thick blanket of air around Earth heats them up instantly. The surface of the meteoroid burns away in a bright flash of light. That's what we see immediately. A brief, glowing trail, then it's gone. No explosion, no sound, just a flicker of something ancient, fading in silence. People have watched meteors for thousands of years. In the past they were seen as omens or messages from the gods. Today, we know what they really are. But that doesn't make them any less special. Because when we watch one, we re-seeing a story play out that started long before humans ever looked up at the sky. Some people confuse meteors with meteorites. Here's the difference. If the piece of space rock burns up completely in the atmosphere, it's just called a meteor. But if a part of it survives the trip and lands on Earth, that leftover piece is called a meteorite. Most never make it to the ground. They're just too small. They vaporize in the air and leave nothing behind. Still, every now and then, something big enough does reach the surface. And when that happens, scientists study it. Meteorites are like time capsules. They carry the ingredients of the early solar system. Some are older than Earth itself. By studying them, we learn how planets formed, what the solar system was like before we were here, and maybe even how life began. But back to the night sky. When you look up and see a shooting star, remember that what you're re-seeing is the final second of a journey that lasted millions of years. That piece of dust may have been drifting in space since before Earth had oceans. It may have circled the sun hundreds of times, passing Jupiter, brushing by Saturn, until one day, it fell into Earth's path. That's the part we get to see. The last second, the bright burn, the silent goodbye. And even though it's not a star, even though it's not falling from heaven, it still feels like something meaningful, something worth pausing for. There's a reason we still make wishes when we see one. Not because they're magical, but because they remind us how brief and beautiful life can be. A flash of light in the dark. Here for a moment. Gone the next yet remembered. Chapter 2. A journey millions of years long. When you see a shooting star, you're rewatching the final second of something that has traveled longer and farther than you can imagine. That tiny flash of light isn't just a random event. It's the end of a journey that may have begun before Earth had trees or oceans or life at all. You're not just looking at a glowing piece of dust. You're witnessing history. These particles, called meteoroids before they enter our atmosphere, are usually pieces of comets or asteroids. Some broke off millions, even billions of years ago. They've been drifting ever since, pulled gently by the gravity of planets, nudged by the solar wind circling the sun in silence. Some are leftovers from the early days of our solar system, the time when planets were still forming and colliding and breaking apart. Back then, space wasn't calm. It was chaos. Planets hadn't yet settled into their orbits. Massive chunks of rock smashed into each other, throwing debris everywhere. Some of that debris never found a home. It stayed out there, caught in a slow orbit, becoming the cosmic dust we now see as shooting stars. Others came from comets' icy bodies that live on the edge of our solar system. When these comets swing close to the sun, they heat up. Their icy surfaces crack, crumble, and release trails of dust and gas. That dust stays behind, forming a path that Earth sometimes crosses. And when we do, those dust particles enter our atmosphere and become meteor showers. The important thing to realize is how long this all takes. The comet that created the Perseid meteor shower, for example, is called SWIFT. It's a frozen ball of ice and dust about 26 kilometers wide. It takes 133 years to orbit the sun, and the dust it left behind, some of it could have been floating through space since the time of ancient Egypt, and that's just one comet. There are many. Each has its own trail, its own signature. When Earth crosses one of those trails, we see a meteor shower. But each particle, each tiny speck, has its own journey. Some spent millions of years circling quietly. Others were thrown into space by a collision or breakup. Some have even come from outside our solar system, traveling through interstellar space, only to meet Earth by pure chance. The scale of this is hard to grasp. A particle smaller than a pea, floating for eons, invisible and silent, until one night it happens to hit the right angle, and for 1 second it becomes light. 1 second. Think about that. Something can exist for millions of years, untouched, unseen, unnoticed, and then its entire story ends in a blink. That flash you see, it's the whole journey coming to a close, and you got to see it. No telescope needed, no machine, just your eyes. That's the beauty of shooting stars. They remind us of the massive timescales at play. Our lives, which feel so long and complicated, are just moments compared to the lives of these tiny travelers. And yet, we share a brief moment of connection with them on a quiet night, under a clear sky. That's why people feel something when they see one. It's not just science, it's not just light, it's something deeper. It's a reminder of how vast time really is, and how strange and lucky it is that we get to see even a second of it. What's even more fascinating is how little these particles change during their journey. Out in space, there's no wind, no water, no erosion. These tiny rocks and dust grains stay almost exactly the same as they were the day they formed. Some may have been floating around since before the Earth existed. Think about that. The light you're seeing is coming from something older than the planet beneath your feet. That's not poetry, that's science. And yet, it does feel poetic, because these ancient travelers didn't choose their path. They drifted, they waited, they followed the pull of gravity, and by pure chance, they ended up in your sky, on your night, in your line of sight. You could have been anywhere. You could have missed it, but you didn't. You looked up at just the right time, and in that second millions of years came to an end just for you. No sound, no announcement, no warning, just light. And that's why, even when we know the science, even when we understand the mechanics, we still feel something deeper when we see a shooting star, because it's not just about what it is, it's about what it means. A reminder that even the smallest things can have the longest journeys, that even the most ordinary-looking speck of dust can carry a story bigger than ours, that we live in a universe full of silent, slow-moving wonders, and sometimes, just sometimes, they light up for us to see. So the next time you see a shooting star, remember this. It might be gone in an instant, but its story began long before you were born, and for that 1 second, its journey ended with you watching it fall. Chapter 3. If you're lucky, you'll look up and see not just one shooting star, but several one after another, crossing the sky like streaks of silver light. It feels like magic, but what you're really watching is a meteor shower, one of the most beautiful and peaceful natural events in the night sky. A meteor shower happens when Earth passes through a trail of dust left behind by a comet. These dust trails are like long, invisible rivers of tiny particles floating in space. As our planet moves along its orbit around the sun, it sometimes crosses these trails, and when it does, the particles from the comet enter Earth's atmosphere and burn up, just like any other meteor. But this time, there are hundreds, sometimes thousands of them. That's why we call it a shower. It's not rain made of water. It's rain made of ancient dust and rock, falling from the edges of the solar system, lighting up our sky. Each meteor in a shower comes from a slightly different place, but they all seem to fall from the same point in the sky. That point is called the radiant. It's just a trick of perspective, like railroad tracks that look like they meet in the distance. One of the most famous meteor showers is the Perseid. It happens every August and is caused by debris from comet SWIFT. This comet has been orbiting the sun for thousands of years, and each time it gets close, it sheds more dust. Earth moves through that dust every year like clockwork, and when we do, the sky puts on a show. During the peak of the Perseids, you might see 60 to 100 meteors every hour. They appear fast and bright, often leaving trails behind them that last for a second or two. Some are so bright they're called fireballs, bigger, bolder flashes that seem to explode across the sky. But the Perseids aren't the only ones. There are other showers throughout the year, each with its own story. The Geminids in December come from a mysterious asteroid called 3200 Phaethon, which behaves more like a comet. The Quadrantids arrive in January, short but intense. The Leonids in November are famous for producing rare storms. Once, in 1966, people reported seeing thousands of meteors per minute. Imagine that. A sky so full of falling stars, you could barely keep up. These showers aren't random. They come at the same time each year because the comet trails stay in place. Earth moves through them like a train passing through fog. You know when it's coming. You just need to be ready to look. And the best way to watch a meteor shower is simple. You don't need a telescope, you don't need special gear. Just go somewhere dark, away from city lights. Bring a blanket, lie down, let your eyes adjust to the dark, and look up. Give it time. Meteors don't show up every second, but if you're patient, you'll see them. And once you see one, you'll want to see another. There's something deeply calming about it. The sky feels bigger, time feels slower, and you feel more connected to the universe, to the moment, to yourself. People have been watching meteor showers for thousands of years. In many cultures, they were seen as signs, messages from the gods, souls traveling to the heavens, or even tears of the stars. Some Native American stories speak of stars dancing across the sky. In ancient Japan, shooting stars were believed to carry the prayers of the living. In old Europe, it was common to make a wish when you saw one. That tradition lives on today. And while we now understand the science, the feeling hasn't changed. It still feels special. It still feels like a gift. A meteor shower is a rare thing in life that asks for nothing but your time. It doesn't cost anything. It doesn't require travel. You just have to be still long enough to notice. And in a world that moves too fast, maybe that's exactly what we need. There's something beautiful about knowing these lights in the sky are ancient. The dust you see burning tonight may have broken off from a comet thousands of years ago. Maybe it happened before your ancestors were born. Maybe someone, long ago, stood under the same sky, looking at the same comet, not knowing that a piece of it would one day light up the sky above you. That's the quiet poetry of the cosmos. Everything is connected across time, across space, and you're part of it just by looking up. And that's what a meteor shower really is. Not just light, not just science, but a shared experience with the universe. A reminder that no matter how big space is, no matter how small we feel, we're still part of the story. So next time you hear there's a meteor shower, make time for it, even if it's just a few minutes. Go outside, find a patch of sky, leave your phone behind and just watch. You might see one, you might see 10, or maybe the clouds get in the way. That's okay, because the point isn't how many you see. The point is that you tried, that you gave yourself a moment of stillness. And if you're lucky, you'll catch a glimpse of something older than anything else around you. Something small, silent, and glowing. Something that traveled across space and time just to end its journey in front of your eyes. That's a meteor shower, and that's why it's worth staying up a little later. Chapter 4. When and where to see the magic. The good news is, you don't need to be an astronomer to see a meteor. You don't need a telescope or special apps or complicated knowledge of the stars. You don't even need to know exactly where to look. What you do need is patience, a little planning, and the right kind of night. That is all it takes to experience one of the most peaceful and beautiful things the night sky can offer. Meteor showers happen regularly throughout the year, and some of them are well known because they're reliable, strong, and easy to view. The Perseids in August are one of the most popular because they happen during summer in the northern hemisphere, when the weather is warm and the skies are often clear. The Geminids in December are also strong, with bright and frequent meteors. Even though it's colder, the best time to see any meteor shower is usually after midnight. That's because Earth is turning into the stream of particles. After midnight, your location on Earth faces the direction of the planet's movement. It's like driving through a snowstorm. You see more snowflakes hitting the windshield than the back window. In the same way, you'll see more meteors when your part of the planet is facing into the dust trail. The exact time depends on the shower and your location, but the window is usually from midnight to 4 a.m. That's when the sky is darkest and the meteor activity is highest. But even outside those hours, if the sky is clear and the shower is strong, you can still catch some. Location matters too, but not as much as you might think. You don't have to climb a mountain or travel to a remote desert. You just need to get away from city lights. Light pollution is one of the biggest things that blocks our view of the stars. Even a small town can wash out the sky with streetlights, buildings, and signs, but if you can drive just 30 or 40 minutes outside a city, to a darker area with a clear view of the sky, your chances go way up. High places are good because they tend to have less haze or fog. Open areas are better because you get a wider view of the sky. Avoid places with trees or buildings that block your view. You want the biggest piece of sky you can get. Bring a blanket or a reclining chair. Dress warmly, even in summer, because it can get cold at night. Bring water or a thermos with something warm. If you're with others, keep your lights dim. Use a red flashlight if you need one. It won't ruin your night vision. And then, just lie back and look up. That's it. You don't need to track where the radiant is, or find a certain constellation. Meteors appear all over the sky. The radiant is just the place they seem to come from, but they can streak in any direction. The most important thing is to give your eyes time to adjust. It can take 20 to 30 minutes for your eyes to fully adapt to the dark. Don't check your phone during that time. Don't look at any bright lights. Just let your vision settle in. At first you might not see anything that's normal, but after a while, when your eyes adjust and your thoughts slow down, something changes. You start to notice more. A flash here, a streak there, some fast, some slow, some faint, some bright enough to leave a glowing trail behind. And with each one, you feel a little spark of wonder. You might not say anything. You might just smile quietly, but you'll feel it. The beauty of watching meteors isn't just in the light they make. It's in the quiet, in the stillness, in the way the sky seems to open up just a little bit more. And the longer you watch, the more you feel like you're part of something bigger, something timeless. Some people like to keep a journal of what they see. How many meteors in an hour, what direction they came from, how bright they were. Others don't bother with counting. They just enjoy the experience. There's no right or wrong way. Do what feels natural to you. What matters most is that you're present. You're giving yourself the chance to witness something real, something ancient, something that requires nothing from you except your attention. And maybe, in that quiet space between one meteor and the next, you'll find yourself thinking about things you haven't thought about in a while, not because the sky gives you answers, but because it gives you room to ask. That's part of the magic too. And if the weather doesn't cooperate, if clouds roll in, or the moon is too bright, or nothing appears right away, that's okay. The sky isn't here to perform on command. Sometimes, the best moments come when you least expect them. Sometimes, one single meteor on a cloudy night means more than 100 on a clear one. It all depends on how you see it. So whether you plan it weeks in advance or stumble outside one night and just happen to look up, take the time, make the space. Let your mind slow down and your eyes open up. The universe doesn't speak in words, but sometimes, when the conditions are right, it draws a line of light across the sky. And if you're watching, that line might just say, "You're here," and that's enough. Chapter 5. A Wish, and What Remains. There's something timeless about the idea of making a wish when you see a shooting star. It doesn't matter how old you are or how much science you know. That moment, that brief flash across the sky still pulls something quiet and hopeful out of us. We don't even need to say the wish out loud. It's enough just to feel it. But where does that tradition come from? Why do we make wishes on shooting stars at all? The answer goes back a long way. In ancient times, people believed the gods lived among the stars. So when a star moved, it meant a message was being sent, or maybe that the gods were looking down. Some cultures believed a falling star was a soul leaving Earth. Others thought it was a door briefly opening between our world and the one beyond. The Greeks, the Romans, the Chinese, the Polynesians, so many ancient peoples looked up and saw something sacred. And while the stories were different, they all shared the same feeling, a sense that something bigger than us was happening. That tradition never really left us. Even today, when we know what shooting stars really are, we still treat them as special. Maybe not divine, but definitely meaningful. Because the truth is, we don't need a myth to feel something deep when we see a light streak through the sky. We just need to stop long enough to notice it. And maybe that's the real power of shooting stars. They don't last long. They don't ask for attention. They just appear, burn bright, and disappear. In that way, they're a little like us. Our lives are brief, too, compared to the life of a planet or a star, but they still matter. And in the right moment, they can still shine. There's something comforting in that idea, that something so small, so quick, can still leave an impression, can still be beautiful, can still be remembered. That's what a shooting star is. A reminder, a quiet message from the universe. Even the smallest things can matter. And when we make a wish, what we're really doing is choosing to believe. Not in magic, maybe, but but in possibility, in the idea that something good could still happen, that we can hope, even when we don't have all the answers. That's a powerful thing, especially in the world we live in now, where everything moves fast, where we're pulled in 1,000 directions, where it's easy to feel small. Looking up at the sky can change that, not because the sky gives us what we want, but because it reminds us of what we are, part of something big, something ancient, something still unfolding. When we watch a shooting star, we're watching the end of a journey that began before we were born. That tiny particle may have traveled through space for millions of years, silent and unseen, only to burn up in the air above us for a single second. That moment is its whole story, its ending, its final act, and somehow we get to witness it. That alone is something to be grateful for. Sometimes we chase big moments, big achievements, big changes, big dreams, but the sky doesn't care about big. It offers us something smaller, simpler, a moment of stillness, a reminder to breathe, to look up, to be present, and maybe, if we're lucky, to let go of the noise for just a little while. Maybe the shooting star doesn't grant the wish. Maybe it is the wish, a flash of beauty in the middle of an ordinary night, a reminder that wonder is still possible, that the universe still holds surprises, that something older than Earth itself can cross paths with you for one perfect second. That's more than enough. And here's the thing most people never notice. They're asleep, or distracted, or inside, but you looked up, you saw it, and that means something. It means you're awake to the world around you, you're paying attention, you're still willing to be amazed, and that's a rare and beautiful thing. So even if no one else saw it, even if it was just you lying on your back under the stars, watching a tiny light flash across the sky, you've still shared a moment with the universe, and maybe that's all a wish really is, a quiet agreement between you and the night, a way of saying, I'm here, I'm open. The next time you see a shooting star, take that second. Don't rush it, don't explain it, just be there. Let it move through you. Let it leave behind whatever it needs to. You don't have to wish for anything. You don't have to believe in anything. Just watch it fall, watch it fade. And remember that even things that last only a moment can still light up the sky. If tonight's story brought you a little peace, leave a quiet sign, a like, a comment, or even just a hello to the cosmos. And if you'd like more stories like this to fall asleep to, don't forget to subscribe. Good night. May your sky be full of stars and your wishes find their way.